In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
What up, everybody? Happy Monday as we welcome you into Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Stormy Buonantony and Jonathan Von Tobel with you as always, albeit from different locations today. JVT is out of Circa Resort and Casino in Vegas per usual. I'm on the road today in Salt Lake City. We'll be broadcasting Golden Knights Mammoth Game 4 tonight in the NHL Stanley Cup postseason. I'll be on the call with Steve Levy and TJ Oshie. First time working with them. First time at Delta Center, JVT. I'm very excited.
Oh, I didn't know that. I figured you'd been out there before, but I forget that it's a relatively new matchup, the Mammoth being out there and playing hockey. Everything is right in the world when Stormy Buonantony is out in the Beehive State, because every single Mormon out there feels a little bit more at ease when you are within the confines of Utah. So happy you're home away from home. You're comfortable. But the sight of a murder on Friday, because I watched that game and Vegas did not perform particularly well. So very much looking forward to what this bounce back looks like for the Knights.
Yeah, it was a tough one for the Golden Knights. When you give up 4 goals on 12 shots, that's not the ideal recipe for winning games, and the environment looked raucous. But I know that you make that joke and jest about me being out here in Salt Lake City, but I'll tell you, I tweeted yesterday the broadcast information for the game, and the comments are hysterical. Because it's such a split, JVT, of people who know the success that BYU football has had with me on the sideline over the years and saying like, oh, it's a lock, the Mammoth are going to win, paired with all of the people that are like, oh, well, she lives in Vegas and she's a former Golden Knights reporter. It's a lock for Vegas. So like, it's very funny to see the divide that has been in my comments about me being on this game.
I just love that you are such a star out there. So we know, I mean, you have many fallbacks, I think. Me, not so much. But for sure, one of them is going to be out there in Utah. But hopefully you don't have to use that one, because I would think, knowing you, it's probably, no offense to Salt Lake City, like the 4th on the list of things that you want to fall back on, being a local Utah reporter.
Anywhere that will have me, I will take gladly. I'm just appreciative that I get the opportunity to be anywhere, JVT. Congrats to you, by the way. Speaking of appreciation, you've got to be in a great mood. Final day of 75 hard. You're almost done.
Yeah, we're almost done. Congratulate me when I'm done, though. We got one workout left later today, so we'll get there. Okay. And then we can hopefully, should I survive this long, eat pizza for the first time in 3 months on Friday night. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
A meal I have invited myself to. So we'll find out a little bit more about what that successful meal will be later on in the show, but we have so much to get to with the NBA, NHL, everything going on. So let's set the table like we always do here on Money Moves. Time for the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the rundown.
JVT, we love a good overreaction or proper reaction Monday following the weekend that was. We got Call Me Crazy But coming up. Give some of our thoughts about the draft as well. Some other breaking news in college football today, but a fun segment nonetheless later on in the program.
Yep, and I've got a plethora of Call Me Crazies. You do such a good job, though. So we're looking forward to seeing what you have to say about certain aspects of the sporting weekend that just transpired. And I will say, as part of one of my Call Me Crazies, we should have seen this coming. We will tell you what it is.
One I didn't put in there today that I probably should have, but Call Me Crazy, but I had no idea how bad my team was at drafting. I saw Warren Sharp put that whole breakdown together of how terrible John Lynch and the 49ers were at it, so prayers up for your girl. Let's get to number 2 here on the rundown, though. Puck everybody. Talking NHL postseason, 2 series already wrapped in the NHL. Avs and Canes sweep the Kings and Sens, respectively. Still a lot to be decided, however, in the first round. We're going to have our good buddy Jonathan Davis on the program a little bit later. Give us his favorite plays on the 2 games tonight. Vegas, Utah, as I mentioned already. Pens, Flyers as well. Can the Flyers close out their series with Pittsburgh after the Pens forced a Game 5.
Nope, we're still alive here, Pittsburgh. We being me. For those who don't remember, after Game 2, I bet them to win the series. I still believe, even though they fell down 3-0, I still think, look, hockey is a stupid sport. In fact, as we have discussed already, the Vegas loss on Friday night was a stupid loss when you look at the metrics for it. You never know what's going to happen in hockey over the course of 2 or 3 games in the series, so my Penguins are not dead yet.
Flyers as a dog. Let's go. And then closing out the rundown today, let's get to your baby, the association. Although the NBA playoff injury bug has hit, yes, we got the return of Victor Wembanyama and Joel Embiid yesterday, but Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards goes down with a bone bruise and hyperextended knee. Dante DiVincenzo also injured his leg. We'll discuss the impact that will have moving forward against the Nuggets and potentially beyond, with Minnesota up 3-1, Game 5 on the way tonight. We'll preview all 3 games this evening. Also have Tom Bird of Mad Dog Sports Radio help us break down the slate and all of the series. But JVT, so many big names off the court right now. In addition to who I just mentioned, also KD, Luka, Austin Reeves are dropping like flies this time of year.
Yeah, its injuries are right now the story of the NBA postseason. We could stretch this back to last year as well. And that's the disappointing part about this. You never want a postseason to just be who can successfully navigate a war of attrition. But that seems to be what the NBA is sizing up to be here over this postseason and this last one. We're waiting to see whether or not Austin Reeves and Kevin Durant will play. That is, or 2 names are floating around a big game tonight for the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers. But that has been the story of the postseason up to this point. And even Denver. You could talk about some of the magnitude of these other injuries stories, but Peyton Watson has not played yet in this series. Aaron Gordon is clearly not healthy for Denver either, and he continues to play through it. So this has been it. If you are healthy, you have a shot. Although if you're the San Antonio Spurs, you don't need Victor Wembanyama, because that same Friday night I also watched the Portland Trailblazers blow a game to the Wembanyama-less Spurs and lose that one. Could have taken a 2-1 series lead, but it didn't matter. But you're absolutely right. Injuries are all that matter at this point in the NBA postseason.
Meanwhile, with him back on the court, they're down 17 at halftime and still find a way to come back and win by nearly 20. That's neither here nor there. We can talk that series a little bit later. But I do want to start with all things Houston and LA right now, as Rockets avoid the sweep without KD, despite him missing his 3rd game of the series. Bone bruise in his ankle. Good win, too. They win by 19. Cover any number, 115-96, your final to force a Game 5 coming up on Wednesday. Total goes over as well. What did you make of what we saw last night as this Lakers team tried to get the sweep but couldn't get it done?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the spot of all spots. We've talked about this a ton. It's the gentleman's sweep. You're down 3-0. It's human nature if you're the visiting team there to just maybe give them one, for lack of a better term, and then close it out on your home floor. Although we'll see. I mean, Houston, as we saw with the way the market priced this series before it started, clearly believed to be the much better team, although the Lakers are favored ever so slightly at home in Game 5. But first that, right? The gambling spot seemed to be screamed Houston Rockets. I used them in the Killer Sports contest. They end up getting there. The other facet of this, though, was the lack of offensive production from the Los Angeles Lakers. In non-garbage time, an offensive rating of 102.4. Stormy, they turned it over on 27.4% of their possessions. That's more than 1 of every 4 trips down the floor ended in a turnover for the Los Angeles Lakers. I'll set this up for us. Let's hear from JJ Redick, because he was asked multiple times in the post-game media availability about the turnovers, the lack of offensive production. And after the 3rd time, he finally bit and gave an answer on what he saw on the floor.
Again, I mean, this is a top 10 defense the entire season. It's obviously very challenging without your 2 leading scorers to generate offense. I think we'll take a look at the process again on that end as well. And I know our points per shot and our expected points per shot were slightly below our season average. So there, to me, again, it goes back to the 2 keys: take care of the ball, and we'll look at that and how we can be better there.
4 of 16 from beyond the arc in non-garbage time, 13 of 22 at the rim. Those are metrics that are not going to win you any game, Storm, and that sure enough led to a pretty big blowout loss for the Lakers.
Yeah, and you mentioned the turnover, like 24 turnovers is the most by a LeBron-led team in the playoffs, 8 of them by him, by the way, a season-low 5 threes. It wasn't ideal. You mentioned the injury stuff moving forward. Austin Reeves has been questionable the last 2 games now, hasn't played. Is there an expectation in your mind that they get him back for Game 5?
I have no idea, because if you remember, before Game 3, we read that report on the air that he's going to give it a go in pregame warmups, and if he doesn't, then he's going to play in Game 4. I don't know about you, but I can't find him in the box score, and I didn't see him in Game 4 last night. So maybe with some extra time, yeah, right. So maybe with some extra time, he's going to be available to play. But the reports have kind of been misleading on Reeves of whether or not he's going to be out there. And Redick, he gave really short answers yesterday. He was very clearly disappointed, so I didn't pull this, but he was asked about it. They do lack some ball handlers outside of LeBron James to really initiate the offense. You bring it up the floor when they're getting pressured, when they're in the half court, to do that sort of thing, to touch paint, as you want to use the term, to just get 2 feet in the painted area and either kick it out or finish. So if you can get him back, that is going to be a very big deal for just somebody who can go a little bit north-south and set everybody else up while also being able to create his own shot. That is going to make the biggest difference in the world. And I would say, Stormy, the market expects him to play. The Lakers are about 2.5 3-point favorites for this game coming up in Los Angeles. We don't know the status yet of Kevin Durant, although the expectation sounds like he's going to be out there. But here, this was a team that was catching, 6 points at home against this Rockets group. Now, by the time we fast forward to Game 5, they are favored by 3. That would tell you that at the very least, market thinks that Austin Reeves is going to play and that there's an adjustment to this power rating, and rightfully so, as the Rockets have only covered 1 game so far this season, or series.
Total in that game, 206.5. And as you say that about where the series is at right now, Lakers $9 favorites in all to finish the job. Most shocking result of the weekend for me, I don't know about you. How about that Cavs no-show in Game 4? I actually lucked out, JVT, because I told you on Friday, more than likely going to end up on the Cavs -3.5 in this spot. I got so busy and I had to, I just forgot to bet it. And thank God I did, because look at what it ended up being. 93.89 falls well under, by the way, the 218.5. But the last 2 minutes of that game were a joke.
Yeah, how about this stat? The Toronto Raptors shot 32% in Game 4 and won. It is the lowest field goal percentage by a winning team in an NBA postseason game since 1970. They shot 13.3% on three-pointers. That is the third lowest three-point percentage ever in a postseason game with a minimum of 30 three-point attempts, and the lowest ever by a winning team. That's from Justin Russo, who covers Los Angeles Clippers. It was a historic victory for the Toronto Raptors, and if this was a Game 4 win that made it 3-1 in a series, you're not freaking out too much. But the Cavs already dropped one, and this is a now tied series going back to Cleveland. Not where the Cavaliers wanted to be, and I'm a loser on total 5.5 games of the series under. This thing's going to go over.
We have more to discuss on that one, especially the Harden element of it. But we got to set aside here real quickly. When we come back, more NBA talk. The Timberwolves up 3-1 on the Nuggets, but without Anthony Edwards and Donte DiVincenzo, can they close it out? Only -150 series favorites. We'll hit on that and more coming up.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, 3 games coming up tonight in the association as the NBA postseason rolls on, including a big spread in the nightcap. The Minnesota Timberwolves are up 3-1 on the Nuggets, JVT, but no Anthony Edwards and Donte DiVincenzo as they try to close this thing out. And we're looking at a spread right now in Denver, 11.5, total 223.5. What do you make of where we're currently sitting with this series and tonight?
I mean, where we're at with the series is that the Nuggets have been awful defensively. It's been absolutely ridiculous to watch this team. And Jokic is part of that. He deserves a ton of criticism for the way that he has played. It's funny, you can't do anything really defensively throughout this entire series, Stormy. And yet, when you get a late layup in a game that is a blowout, all of a sudden Jokic has got all the energy in the world to sprint down the court and get pissy about something. Where was that the entire series that has been played up to this point? It's been absolutely ridiculous to watch what this team has put forward. They've been awful. So you would think that when you are handed the biggest opportunity in the world, Donte DiVincenzo isn't out there, Anthony Edwards isn't out there, that you would take it and take advantage of it. But no, you give up over 40 points to Ayo Dosunmu, and all of a sudden you're looking at this series and you're barely alive. So I would expect that you're going to be able to, at the very least, get a victory here. But if you're anybody out there that has watched Denver over the course of the series, why would I trust that you can cover 11.5? I think it is the side to play. You can play the zigzag. You can do whatever. But I think at the end of the day, I can't trust Denver. Is it the one where if you're holding a gun up to my head and you're saying pick a side? Yes, I would pick 11.5. But the way they've played defensively, the way that Jokic has shot threes, looked in terms of conditioning, everything, I cannot trust the way that this team has been playing. And by the way, Aaron Gordon played the other day, but as we mentioned earlier, he doesn't look healthy. He looks pretty poor. He looks like he is dealing with an injury that is holding him back. And if that's the case too, this isn't really a team that you could trust wholeheartedly. 11.5 is a really big number for a group that is playing defense at the level that they are. The lack of rim protection, everything. So I think they win this game, but that's not going out on a limb for a team that's an 11.5 point favorite laying $5 on the money line.
Well, let's push that forward then. What do you think for the series? Because like I said, Minnesota's up 3-1 right now, yet you look at the series price and they're only minus 150 with these injuries. They only need to get one more. So if it doesn't come tonight, do you think they get one and close out this set? And if so, is minus 150 a pretty cheap price on what you can get on them right now?
I think they can win. Denver can win this series given the status of this roster for Minnesota. It's more just, again, the war of attrition. Like you should be able to get this. You know, look at the way that's priced right now, right? Plus 130 for Denver and 7. You can see it right there. Plus 125 for the series winner. You know, you get the idea of where you're at and how injured Minnesota is. Edwards is week to week, so there's no chance that he's going to be in this series because this will be wrapped up. So I think that this is one where you can feel pretty good about Denver to get this done. But again, I don't know if I'm at a place where I'm going to be taking plus 130 and then really banking on it. But here's the thing. I mean, the way that this sets up right now, if you can grab this win, the rest of this is going to go with Jimmy. Denver is going to have most of these games in their favor in terms of being at home. So this should help out Denver if they can grab this victory, if they can take advantage. But given the way Dosunmu has played, not only in this series, but over the course of this season, he's been very, very good. I wouldn't be surprised if you get one good Dosunmu game and all of a sudden you're looking at a victory. And let's not also forget how everybody threw dirt on Rudy Gobert 2 years ago and almost every single year. And he has completely and utterly outplayed Nikola Jokic in this series, guarded him extremely well. This has been so much about Jokic and the way that he has played in this Nuggets team as much as it has been about Rudy Gobert. If they can make these some grinder out type of games, they can continue to stifle Jokic, that I think that there's probably a chance they win this thing even tonight, but I just don't think that's the case. I just think there's too much. Like, you can only handle so much attrition when you're talking about your starting backcourt being injured the way that the Timberwolves backcourt is right now.
Yeah, Gobert seemed to figure something out against Jokic, that's for sure. To your earlier point, though, something does tell me that, you know, Ayo Dosunmu isn't going to have another out-of-body experience and go for 43 again. Let's push it forward, though, because there are a handful of interesting series, including this Detroit-Orlando one, where we've got Game 4 tonight. And I don't know about you, but I did not expect Orlando to be the one with the early edge here in this set. But they've just played better basketball at large. What's going on with the Pistons? I know you drew a line through them right away, but they're not showing up here in round one.
No, they're not. But really quickly, don't slander the name of Ayo Dosunmu. My man had 25 points in the game prior in this series as well. Over the last 2 games, Dosunmu has a combined 68 points in this series. So it's not like he has been mincemeat throughout this entire thing. He's been killing this group. So again, it goes back to if they do it, that's how it's going to be done. Anyway, get that out of the way. Look, we've talked about this for Detroit quite a bit, and this is coming to fruition so far in this series. And it's that Detroit, I think, does scuffle here when it comes to their offense and its offensive production. And again, in this last game, offensive rating of 110.5. That's in the 44th percentile, Stormy. We can say it until we're blue in the face here. When you are just reliant on one guy carrying your team from an offensive standpoint, this is what's going to happen, and we've kind of seen it here. Now, Orlando, I think, has played a little bit above their level, but this is kind of the team you expected. I was very down on Orlando, but styles make fights, and we talked about this going into the series, that they were going to be live to push Detroit. And in fact, we thought really anybody coming out of that playing outside of Orlando, because the way they were playing, was going to be able to push the Pistons, just given the makeup of their roster, and we have seen it up to this point. Last game, an offensive rating of 89.5 for Detroit in the half court. That is in the 44th percentile. That has not been good. Their half-court offensive rating has been pretty poor so far in this series, and that's just going to be something that I think ultimately holds them back. Now, You could probably just play the zigzag, given the way that this series has gone to an extent. But I think that this is one where I just rather trust Orlando if we're talking about getting points at home. I think we have proven now over the course of 3 games that the gap between these two teams is not as extensive as what the market believes it to be here. So Orlando matches up well with them, and I think this is going to be another one where maybe we're overthinking this. And by the way, of all of the teams in the postseason so far, Detroit, they rank dead last in half-court offensive rating. This has been a nightmare for them through 3 games.
Do the Thunder close things out tonight? They're a 10.5-point favorite. Is it that easy when all is said and done with OKC?
Come on now. I mean, the question just becomes whether or not they're going to cover.
Why bother?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Yeah, they think, look, it's a 10.5-point spread. We'll see. Phoenix does have some gumption, so maybe they'll be able to go out there, and Dylan Brooks is going to be able to stare down whatever mascot's in front of them, and they'll be able to use that power to pull off an upset. And as we've discussed in a lot of these, it is human nature to just let up. I mean, you were up 3-0. You are clearly the better team. You have a game back at home coming up that you can close it out in front of your crowd. But I think if you're Oklahoma City, one of the things that sticks out to you is you have been a team beleaguered with injury for a very long time, and you're getting hit with it again here. I think you just want as much time off as possible. So what do you do, especially because not only have you been hit with injuries this year, Stormy, you made a finals run last year that went to 7 games. So you've played a lot of basketball over the last calendar year or so. So let's just maybe get as much time off as you can. End this thing tonight. I think just the question becomes, do they cover? And I would lean a little bit toward no. I think you're going to get a pretty good fight. I think a very obvious play here is going to be like a first half play for Phoenix to come out, put their best foot forward, and potentially try to get a win here. It's probably going to be a pretty lopsided play as well in terms of popularity at the window. But I do think that Oklahoma City is going to be able to get this done tonight and end this series.
So with that thought process and getting the extended time to heal, I'm curious in basketball if it's similar to hockey where the rust factor is a real thing too, coming back from that long of a layoff. Like I know with Colorado and Carolina, for example, having their series sweeps and having to potentially wait for a really long time. That's something that's been on the top of my mind is that game 1, maybe am I going to be in fade mode for one of those early games just because of all of the time that they've had away while all these other teams are playing really high leverage, intense playoff games. Is there anything to that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that to me is the ultimate hindsight angle, which is if they come out after those long layoffs and they blow them out, well, then they were fine. Then there's no problem with it. And then if they come out and they fail to cover, then we could say like, well, you see, they had some time off. It might be some rust. Yeah. I don't think you can ever really quantify whether or not a good or bad performance coming off of rest is because of the rest or because a bad performance is rust. I just think that at this point, when you talk about these teams, and we can include hockey as well, I lean more toward the side of they have played a lot of their respective sport, a lot of minutes. There has been a lot of attrition. Almost every single one of these athletes is probably dealing with something. And it can't be a negative to get them off of their legs for whatever extended amount of time when you're playing high leverage basketball and the other team or hockey and the other team that you're playing has to deal with whatever and then go straight into a series after like a day off. That's got to be pretty tough.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of dealing with something, it appears like Connor McDavid does not seem himself. The Edmonton Oilers, by the way, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit later with Jonathan Davis. What is going on there? I actually have a pretty strong opinion coming up in the next segment that I didn't know needed to be a strong opinion based on what happened on the ice last night between the Oilers and the Anaheim Ducks when we get to call me crazy. But I asked the question about the sweeps and everything just because not only with the extended layoff, but just the thought process that everybody says game 4 is always the hardest one to win. And will the opposing team show up with something? We'll see.
Well, you know what else everybody says is that the Sharp Plays covers it all. And they've been winning for 15 straight years, Storm. I don't know if you know this. All of it documented, logs posted publicly at sharpplays.com. That kind of transparency rare in this industry. When the Sharp Plays move, the sports books take notice. Advanced AI, trusted insider intel. They find the value before the numbers shift. Respected, watched, feared. Start winning with them at sharpplays.com.
On your tinfoil hats.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The whole world gone crazy.
For Call Me Crazy, but...
All right, let's get into it on an Overreaction Monday as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And I'm just going to start shooting from the hip here, JVT, from last night in the National Hockey League. Call me crazy, but it was a good goal. This is not a question. For anyone who didn't see the overtime game winner last night in Anaheim, it didn't come without some controversy. I feel like everyone now has even seen the video of Ryan Whitney losing his mind about it being inconclusive. Everyone on X is so much more divided on this than I thought you could be. I get maybe being upset with the official for the call on the ice and like how long it took to make that initial call. But in this sport, for it to be ruled a goal, the entire puck needs to be past the red goal line. The skate is covering the puck, but it is so clear that the puck is past the line. What do you mean no? What do you mean no? It is so clear.
Okay, so that's where I'll disagree with you, because I agree with you at everything up to a certain point. If the call was good, then it was good. There was no evidence at all that you could use to overturn the fact that it was not a good goal. But there is no way in hell that you can unequivocally say that it was a good goal, because you cannot prove that it was a good goal because the skate is covering it. I am with you in the sense of if it was the call, then the call has to stand because there is nothing in that image that would tell you otherwise. But there is no shot that you can unequivocally prove that it is all the way over that red line because of that angle.
I understand unequivocally proof. However, as a human being looking at the image, JVT, can you not look at that and be like, yes, it's over, because I know the shape of a freaking puck and I see where the line is. So one thing I'll add on to this though real quickly, I saw Jeff Merrick of Daily Faceoff tweeting about this. And he said, which I guess this has been presented before, but it was something like I hadn't seen suggested that I thought was interesting. To make reviews easier, add another line 3 inches back, so the diameter of the puck behind the initial red goal line. That way, if any part of the puck touches the second line, the goal counts. So depending on the way that you can see it, if you can't see the initial line, you have the other line, so you have 2 opportunities to seal it. Is that something that you think would make sense?
No.
Why?
Because it's 2026. Put a chip in the damn puck and make sure that when it crosses a certain threshold, we know that it's over. We have watched tennis do this. We have watched so many sports have such little tiny, minuscule, tiny details on certain aspects of calls. We're watching this ABS. We're within a 1/10 of an inch on some of these calls for the strike zone, and yet we can't find the first down marker properly.
Yeah.
We can't find whether or not this puck has crossed a certain threshold. Embrace technology. You don't have to put a second line. I'm sorry, that's stupid. Just put a chip in the puck and set up the goal so that we know what is happening. That's that simple.
I agree. You're not going to get dissension out of me on that. The fact that it's 2026 and we don't have this technology in place is a little bit absurd. But okay, enough about the one goal that I see. Again, I didn't even realize we were going to get additional controversy on this program. Yet here we are. Tweet at us at MeJVT at Storm Buonantony, or send an email as well. moneymoves@vsin.com. What's your first one?
All right, call me crazy, but we should have seen this coming with Cleveland. I don't know what you guys were talking about. Cleveland drops 2 straight, the Cavaliers, in the NBA postseason. And yet all I heard was about how Cleveland was going to be fine and that they were going to move on and that this team was going to be maybe an Eastern Conference winner. I don't know where that came from, Stormy. I don't know why you would trust James Harden to show up here. Last 2 games for James Harden, 18.5 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists per game on 40% shooting, 31% from 3. He's committed 15 turnovers over the last 2 games. I don't know if you watched him in a brilliant moment in that game against Toronto where he turns it over on a lazy pass, tries to strip the ball, then gives up at half court and watches his guy go down and finish with little resistance. I don't know why anybody would trust James Harden or the Cleveland Cavaliers. Who in the world would do such a thing?
Yeah, who would have said that? Definitely not you repeatedly on the program. It is, I'm mad at us too. You know what? Because sometimes these things are just what they are and we need to accept them.
I would say so too. For anybody who's out there getting angry, I know what I'm doing. Yes, it was me who said that Cleveland can win the Eastern Conference, and they still can. But I will give myself, some credit. What did I also say? I said if you didn't buy it, I totally get it because James Harden has done this a ton of times. We had mentioned it 1,000 times over. He has failed to show up in these moments. He is a dude that is there to collect the bag, and evidence is growing that is the case. And we saw it. Can we play this from Harden? Here he was after the game talking about what happened in the first or those 2 games in Toronto, and he seems to be positive, Stormy.
That we've been great all year long at home. Going back home, we got our crowd behind us, and we'll play better. It's not really. I watch film and see, what other adjustments they did, but just overall picture. Going back home, having an opportunity like other than the fourth quarter of Game 3, where they just made shots and played well, and we just didn't do anything. I think that the 7 quarters we've been here, we've been playing well, and we've had leads, we have opportunities to go up, and we just didn't do it. So, it's not like they're doing something crazy. We got opportunities, and we will, Game 5.
Oh, I love it. The Fire, Cleveland -8.5. When we get to watch them again Wednesday for Game 5, I buy it. I'm back in. Let's go.
Yeah, you're right. They're not doing anything crazy. They were 2 for 21 shooting open threes, and they still beat you. What are we talking about? Also, for Harden specifically in that last game, you get a little bit excited when he's hitting 4 of his first 5 shots, and then to miss 7 of the last 9, like every time he's going up, it's Brick City. What are you going to do? Okay, I'm going to go back to the Oilers and Ducks real quickly, because I feel so bad for Edmonton Oilers loyalists. I feel so bad for Connor McDavid, who agrees to have the short-term extension with Edmonton because he wants to bring a cup here. Call me crazy, but every year it's freaking Groundhog Day with the Edmonton Oilers, JVT. They cannot get out of their own way, no matter how much speed and skill and talent they have offensively, of the best player in the freaking world on their team. For whatever reason, they cannot find a way to invest in goaltending or invest in defense enough. And it is year after year after year. It's the same song and dance. It's the same story. I said yesterday when I went on the VSiN Morning Show, I was like, you guys seen Wedding Crashers, right? When Vince Vaughn is talking to Owen Wilson and he says, I think I'm going to get married now. And he says, I'm over here reading Don't Kill Myself books. I'm hanging by a thread. That's how Edmonton has got to feel year after year after freaking year, that they have all the talent in the world. But doesn't matter how many goals they score, because they're scoring 4 a night, they can't win any freaking games.
I mean, I don't feel bad. This is why loyalty is overrated. I don't know why you signed that extension. Like, this team has shown, this front office has shown that they won't do it. The way you phrase it, I think, is ridiculous. For some reason, they can't find a way. No, they choose not to do this. And Connor McDavid has chosen to put himself in this position to constantly have to deal with this every single season. I don't get it. I didn't get the extension. I don't get the trade deadline that they just went through. And I understand why they're here, because of their own accord. They have decided not to invest in a singular position that has held them back with one of the best players in the NHL, if not the best player in the NHL. So I feel no sorrow for Connor McDavid. He knew what he was getting himself into.
It's just unbelievable. That's all it is to me. Just absolutely unbelievable. And you thought at the trade deadline, Tristan Jarry was going to save you? Please. Okay, what's next?
I refuse to put any sort of qualifier in front of this at all. So I will just state for this segment, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever. Go ahead, Stormy.
Come on. This is good. Like, after this weekend, all of the texts back and forth I was reading between you and Justin. Listen, you're not going to get dissension out of me, because I'm in agreement that. Go ahead.
He's the greatest. There's nothing. I don't need to make a case. He has made the case over and over again. He continues to do it. He threw an alley-oop to the fruit of his loins the other day. This is where this guy is at this point. The sequence at the end of Game 3 that they lose, if it's simulated, out of 1,000 times, 999 times. And yet he is part of that sequence that ultimately gets them the game-time shot, and they win in overtime. I don't know what else we need to do here. The longevity, the high level of play, the fact that my man is old as hell. He's 41 years old. And we talked about this. How cool would it be to get one LeBron series? So if he could just slay this beast and then just wait for Luka and Austin to get back. He did more than that. And now this team's up 3-1 going back to LA, potentially with Reeves coming back. Enough. We're done. There is no conversation. This is over. He's the greatest basketball player. I don't even need to ask if you want to call me crazy. If you wanted to say anything to me, you know where to find me, and I will ignore it, because everything you say after no is just not factual.
You're not crazy. I'm not even going to put myself out there like that. But the longevity for me, and to be 41 years old, as you said, and still be a top 20 player in the NBA. Some comments for you real quick, JVT, on that lob when the video went viral. Bro literally generated his own teammate. Can't let nobody downplay this. Like, it's just, it's so good. It's so good.
It is good. So is the Triple Crown race, and that road to the Triple Crown starts now, folks. If you're betting the Kentucky Derby, this is the time to get dialed in right now. Take advantage of our Triple Crown special. Get full VSiN Pro access to the Belmont Stakes June 6th, just $14.99. You'll get our Kentucky Derby betting guide, expert best bets, predictions, past performances, Mike Somich's superfecta that he hit last year. Plus, you'll have access to the Oaks and Derby previews and more, and the daily best bets and everything that comes with it. So check it out now. Offer expires April 30th. So you've only got about 3 days. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe, VSIN.com/subscribe. And Somich will be with Stormy on Thursday and Friday this week as well. How about that? We'll come back. Tom Byrne will join us on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, we're rolling along here. Monday edition of Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you, Sirius XM channel 158. And we've been knee deep in the NBA today. Let's keep it rolling as we have the one and only Tom Byrne join us here on the Progressive Guest Line, host over at Mad Dog Sports Radio. You can follow him on X at @1Tom Byrne, BYRNE. Welcome in, Tom. How are you? How have you been unpacking all of the NBA action?
It's been pretty good. I mean, listen, I'll give your sport the leg up. I know JVT is already furious. First round hockey oftentimes better than first round NBA, even though it's not the most fair way to determine a true champion. But the NBA, listen, the Knicks are disgraced, so it's 2-2. You got a little juice there. The Denver situation's interesting. It's not terrible. Sometimes these first 2 weeks of the NBA playoffs can take an eternity. It hasn't felt that bad this year.
I mean, come on now. What do we do? We do this every single year. Yes, the sport whose scoring denomination is a single point is always going to be closer every single time. And when you can get 40 shots on a goal and still not score, then yes, it's going to be somewhat entertaining. But I don't really care about that. Let's move on from it. Let's talk about Denver and Minnesota.
But it's also the way they put it together, though, right? It's the matchups they put together. It's stupid, but think about it, and Stormy knows all best. Look at the Western Conference. They got one division, 3 of the best teams, 2 are going to be gone early. Like, that's kind of silly. But, of course, it lends itself to better matchups early. It'd be like getting the Celtics-Knicks in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stormy, anything?
Yeah, Wild Stars is awesome. Whoever ends up advancing from that one to face the Avalanche is going to be awesome. So I hear JVT, just don't be so bitter. It's okay. It's all right. Just let it be.
Yeah, right.
I think it's maybe because I'm wearing red, because I feel oddly fired up today. All right, Tom, let's talk about Minnesota and Denver. Actually, to continue the fired up nature about this has been Nikola Jokic's worst postseason series, I think, ever. This is the worst that he's looked since. I'm going to make a hardcore observation, and this is actually only a single play, but like 3 or 4 years ago, actually even longer, he had a postseason series against Portland where he was so winded in an overtime and his shoe fell off that he gave up on a play and he couldn't get back. This is the worst he's looked since then. I don't understand what's going on with him or this team. They are banged up, but they get every single bit of a great draw here with both Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards sidelined with injury. Do you lay 11.5, and can Denver win this series?
You don't. I mean, I don't know how you could lay 11.5 right now. I know Anthony Edwards means a lot to Minnesota. Dante DiVincenzo, sneaky good too. But you hit the nail on the head. I've never seen Jokic this ridiculously poor, relative to our expectations anyway. And it starts with his outside shot. When he's knocking down a three, there's nothing you could do with this guy. His three-point shooting is a total liability. It's like Charles Barkley shooting a three back in the day. I used to hope as a Sixer fan he missed it because I knew if he made it, he's taking 4 or 5 more. Jokic can't throw it in the ocean right now. It's a problem. I didn't love the beeline to Jaden McDaniels. I think that has a lot to do with the McDaniels commentary. But let's be honest, JVT, you and I didn't like Minnesota coming into this postseason. And they're about to take out the Nuggets relatively easily, it seems. Listen, I do think the Nuggets are going to win the game. But if anybody lays double digits right now, I think you got to get your head examined. That's a number that was a little high for my liking. Now, do I have the guts to take Minnesota? I haven't gotten there, but that's certainly the side I would lean.
Where do you sit on the series right now? Because even though Minnesota's up 3-1, and you said it, the Nuggets are on the brink right now. They're still only a -150 favorite for the series. So with if the Nuggets get the job done tonight and can extend this thing a little bit longer, do you think they can take it to the edge and ultimately win it?
No, I have no faith in them right now. With Gordon a little banged up, we talked about the Jokic problems. Murray, listen, let's be real about Jamal Murray. He's a good player. He's got a clutch bone, understand that. There's a reason he made one All-Star game. That's why these Jokic haters that are now coming out of the weeds all of a sudden, well, see, I told you, Jokic was actually never that good. Yes, he is. I mean, first of all, stop judging individual greatness based on team success. It's so stupid. It makes absolutely no sense, but everybody falls into that trap. But I guess the point I'm making is Murray's, kind of overrated. The Denver Nuggets are good. They should be better than this, because typically they're so damn in control offensively, but they always had a defensive problem. And I know they're banged up. No Ann Edwards. Ann is not Michael Jordan, no matter what ESPN wants to tell you. Okay, this is not a top 10 player in the world. He's inefficient. They're going to miss him, don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's the death sentence that maybe the Denver fans hoping for. I don't think Denver right now takes 3 games in a row.
All right, Tom. And by the way, he's not. He's actually Michael Jordan's long-lost offspring, if you were following internet culture properly.
Right,
so
that's what it was. Sure,
right. Yeah. So I made the point here. I don't know what crazy person ever decided to put their stock behind James Harden. I don't know if you know anybody who decided to do that with this Cleveland Cavaliers team, Donovan Mitchell. But, can you believe that we're actually here with James Harden not showing up in the last 2 games, committing 15 turnovers, and now in a tied series against the Raptors?
Of course. That was the craziest thing. You and I discussed this. Cleveland, the team that you can't trust most. Look at the last couple of years. Remember Mobley, I think it was a couple of years ago? Oh, we were a deer in headlights. He said the quiet part out loud. They go out and get James Harden. And listen, some people are too tough on Harden. Prime Harden was a fun watch. But the reality is he's never as consistent in the postseason. He turns it over left and right. I don't know what it is about him, but when things get tight, you cannot trust them. Look at yesterday. They're up double digits, and they somehow squandered a lead to Toronto, which shot, 4 of 20 from 3?
Yep.
I can't believe the Raptors won a playoff game. The Raptors, who are a mid-team anyway, winning a playoff game where they shot about 10% from 3, somewhere in that range. That is wild in today's NBA. But it speaks volumes about the Cavs. They can't wait to choke away a game.
Meanwhile, how about what we've seen from Detroit to this point? Because they're the top seed in the Eastern Conference. They're having this wonderful year. And then Orlando is out here with a 2-1 advantage on them right now. You look to tonight, they're favored by 3.5 on the road. How do you see that playing out, not only tonight, but series long?
Your gut tells you take the Detroit Pistons. They were the 1 seed all year. Magic, not reaching expectations time and time again. We kind of wrote them off. But if you really break it down, and anybody modeling this will tell you that actually the pure value is probably on Orlando. Now, am I going to have the guts to take them? No, probably not. But I think it speaks to what Detroit is. They're a highly overvalued 1 seed. I mean, relative to your typical 1 seed, they're not great. You give them credit. They attacked the 82-game regular season like every game was their last. And they brought back the Detroit identity. You think about 89-90 with the Bad Boys. You think about 2004, the team that upset the Lakers, a massive upset. You thought about grit. You thought about defense. You thought about intensity. Well, they have all that. But what they don't have is a lot of talent offensively. They don't have that second scorer. The Pistons were always going to be vulnerable. I said this when the Magic played the Sixers in the play-in. It'd be wise to tank. All these teams tank. This is when you tank. You'd much rather get the Pistons than the Celtics. You wonder if Orlando wasn't pulling the old rope-a-dope or they just got lucky. Either way, I think Detroit gets out of this series, Stormy, but that'll be it. They're going to be one and done.
Tom, you do model, you do project all of this kind of stuff tonight. Is there anything on the card that you played or that stuck out by your projections?
No, I'm very boring. I told Justin I'm a boring guest tonight. I've tightened the parameters, I guess, a little bit based on the old days, but I just don't have anything of value at the moment. Now, talk to me before a tip. Something might entice me. But right now, I'm thinking I'm going to wait to in-game to play these.
When it comes to Rockets, Lakers, I am curious where you kind of sit on what we saw last night from LA and moving forward.
I was way off on LA. I thought even healthy, Stormy, that this defense which wasn't very good all year long, would be a problem. We talk about the Knicks all the time. Well, they don't have a defender in Brunson or Towns that you could trust. Well, look at LeBron at this age is not what he was, okay? Reeves is not a defender. Luka's a garbage defender. So they got three guys that are major issues on that end, and they didn't have the great rim protection, so you felt like they were in major trouble inevitably. But, wow, Doncic goes out. Reeves goes out. I think it speaks volumes to where the Rockets are, and I get that Kevin Durant's missed 3 or 4 games. I got to give LeBron a lot of credit. Now, he was awful the other night coming down the stretch from like the 3-minute mark to the 30-second mark. But, of course, he makes amends, pokes the ball away, gets it back, knocked down the threes, in control of overtime while Smart looks like the Boston Marcus Smart. I mean, I got to take my hat off to him. When you just speak of longevity alone, LeBron's one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. So I think that's a story, but I don't think this is a story that's going to last. Is there anybody that thinks that LeBron and the Lakers are going to go ahead and win their next round, even if they do get healthy? I don't believe that. And it's going to be a wild narrative because you know it's going to start behind the scenes. See, LeBron's still the best player of the team. They're giving the team back to Luka and Reeves, and now they're losing. Well, no, they probably had some outlier performances, and the Rockets were really awful, and that's why we're in the position we're in. So I don't think we're going to have the first 3-0, next thing you know, you look up and it's 4-3 Rockets. I don't think that's going to happen for the first time in the association, if that's what you're asking. But I don't think the Lakers are long for the playoffs.
Tom, you're awesome. Thank you so much for the time today. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Tom Byrne doing great stuff over there, Mad Dog Sports Radio tonight. And JVT, I do think with the Rockets, a lot of people, for whatever reason, have forgotten that like Van Vliet's not here. And that's a big piece of what they try to do.
I mean, it is, but you've had 82 games. Like, if any good coach can overcome this and actually get some stuff done. So Ime's got to do some self-reflection for sure.
I was gonna say, that's a whole other element to it, because something tells me he's not going to be around a whole lot longer as well. We got to step aside here. Coming back, hour 2 of Money Moves. When we return, one call me crazy, but the JVT needs to add to the list, and a whole lot more. We'll be right back.